This is Lord Thaddeus Cray. What's this one going to be about? It's going to be about something. But at the same time, it's almost going to take a back seat to what it seems to feed from. The subject matter, I mean. First off, I'm going to bring up what is the most primal emotion people fear. Not fear, but feel. Well, what I just mentioned prior, fear. That is what seems to be one of the most primal emotions within all living beings. Within animals, at least wild animals, that fear is what keeps them alive. Within humans, it's the same thing. However, of course, we have more logical build-up in our minds beyond just the lizard part of our emotions, as well as the construction of the brain. However, it is still very much within us, and we seem to generate it more than other living creatures. Let's leave it at this. Due to our flesh nature, the Bible itself and other books speak of do not be afraid so many times that you can lose count. So think about that. We are naturally fearful creatures. And negative entities, you have to remember there are what I call three orientations, or alignments. You have good, neutral, and evil. Most things are actually probably good to neutral. But you have a lot of evil out there too, and unfortunately due to our flesh nature and our negative qualities, we seem to interact with that more than anything else. I admit that I have sometimes. However, that's not about that. This is about fear in general. Fear seems to be a very powerful source of energy, or what it seems to be, what a lot of these negative and lesser beings are drawn to. And that is where this is going to be brought up. The subject of this video, the Hat Man. What is the Hat Man? Well, I do believe it's demonic. No doubt about that in my mind. Because it seems to generate fear. It seems to have a desire to make people afraid of it. And it seems to definitely enjoy the sensation that it's exposed to, which is not uncommon for many demonic entities, if not all. Now, what exactly does it look like? Well, like I mentioned with the black-eyed kids and the white-eyed individuals, there, of course, are different types of element, but at the same time, they seem to have outdated appearances. Not so much as the Hat Man, though. The Hat Man seems to be really outdated. So I'm wondering why it appears as it does. I can't tell you, but it appears usually as like a man in a top hat or something along those lines out of, let's say, maybe the 1800s, or maybe the beginning parts of the 1900s. So either way, really, outdated stuff when it comes to appearance. Now, why it chooses to appear that way, I can't tell you. That's something I don't know. I can't tell you why that shadow being that looked at me when I was trying to sleep looked the way it did. But I don't think that was a Hat Man. That was something else, to be honest. I know that for a fact. But I will tell you this. The Hat Man seems to pretty much put itself in positions where it can possibly scare the daylights out of people and, of course, generate that much more fear. It has not just been seen here in the United States. It's been seen, really, quite a bit over in Europe, too, if I remember right. Because of the dress period of that time. That was real common, of course, here in the United States, but mainly over in the UK also. Because you have to remember, that, we kind of originated from that area when we came over here to the States. So it's only natural that we would mirror, a lot of that style during that time period. However, I don't know why it chooses to appear that way, but I do know that fear itself, as well as the rush of adrenaline, seems to be like a 4-star meal, or a 5-star meal for this thing. Whatever it is, what I can recall, I've never encountered one. I've encountered a lot of weird shit, but I don't think a Hat Man was ever one of them, and I don't want to. Leave it at that. That ain't cowardice, it's just the fact I've dealt with enough crap, I ain't needing help. But I figured I should go ahead and put this out there. This thing is very unique in the fact that it seems to draw more on the negative and the evil compared to many other beings and entities out there. This obviously is not a cryptid, but it's definitely something to research and kind of figure out your own, situations when it comes to this thing. I do believe that there are more entities than just the Hat Man that feed off this emotion of fear, the terror that people generate. Think about this. As I said before so many times, what is it that so many of these beings are drawn to? They're drawn to seems to be people with disturbed psyche, the mind. People who are disturbed in the mind, people who have been through trauma. That's something else to think about. Things like this creature, they seem to like to be around people like this, damaged individuals especially. Because the fact is, those of us who have had a breaking of the mind in one way or other in life, that barrier, that natural barrier, which protects most people from experiencing the paranormal, I believe firmly is damaged. And of course, such entities sense this. They're not stupid. They're very, very intelligent. I mean, even if they have a primal mindset, they ain't dumb. So naturally, they're going to be drawn to many of us in the so-called community. And that in itself is something which really is something to think about, What made a person realize that they had the gift of being able to see things that others can't, or they seem to be surrounded by such things? Is it a bad thing? No. Honestly, I think in some ways it's a good thing. Because to me it proves that, when I see entities of the supernatural, it means to me that there is a creator. There is more of a reason to believe. And that has gotten my fat out of the fire many times. Hell, you can just listen to my last video and you understand where we're going with that. I'm just going to leave it with this. There is definitely some correlation between what I mentioned. People who have been traumatized or who've basically been through the ringer, or those maybe who have a so-called mental illness, which I am not even sure is illness at this point. But I'm just leaving it there. And the power of fear itself is really overpowered by the power of love. This is true. But you have to be aware of that emotion. And if you're aware of certain things being around you, okay, do what you need to do to try to put your own mind at ease. How you do that, again, that's not for me to tell you. But I thought you might like this video, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at this. You guys be blessed and you be safe.